Hi folks, Modelling Mark here again. We're about to embark on a new project, which is the Quorn Mk3 Tool Cutter and Grinder. This project needs a bit more of an introduction because it's a big project. So rather than sit in the workshop or sit behind an editing laptop, I thought I would just take a walk with Princess Threadlock and tell you about it. It's a very grey morning, but it's still nice walking through the woods. Anyway, onto the Quorn. It's a Hemingway's kit. I've done several of their kits before and they've always been very good, and this one looks like it's no exception. Came in 2 big boxes, total weight of about 35 kilos, and there's everything you need. All the castings, all the bar stock, the electric motor, the hardware for the electric motor, the belts, grinding discs, fixings. You don't actually need to buy anything, although of course I will need to buy some more tooling. For the new tooling I need a graduating tool, which is also a Hemingway's kit. So I need to design and build an indexing head for the lathe, which will go alongside the graduating tool so I can do all the graduations on the dials. So there will be a couple of side projects along the way. There'll be a couple of diversions, no doubt, because it's a long project. While I'm doing that, I've also got the USS Constitution on the go, and so a couple of other side projects which I've got in the wings. What can you smell? Can you smell a rabbit? Can you smell a rabbit? There's another YouTuber also building the Quorn. That's Baz from Badger's Garage Workshop. He's doing a brilliant job. He certainly knows what he's doing. He's quite a bit further on. I'll put a link in the description to that one. In this first video, I'm going to make a start on the main bars, and I'm also going to start on the base castings. Now I won't get the base castings finished because there's a lot of work to do in them. So that's going to take 2, maybe 3 videos. I don't want the videos to get too long. After the base castings are done, we're on to some more straightforward parts. I'm looking forward to this build. I hope you are too. As I said, it's going to be a long one. Thanks for sticking around. Now on with the project. There's 2 1-inch silver steel bars for the base. I've faced these off, and the only real machining operation is to drill a 13/32 flat bottom hole. Now I won't show you the whole procedure because it was fiddly and awkward and is right on the limit of my lathe bed length. And it's also 2.5-inch deep hole. I've only got 1.5 inch quill travel, so I had to drill a hole 1.5 inch deep and then slide the tailstock in and drill the remaining inch. So I'll just show you the last little bit. I'll come clean, this is actually being faked because I've already drilled the hole, but I wanted to do it without the camera in the way. But there you can see how close I was to the end of the lathe bed. I had to push the tailstock just over the end, and for some of the drills had to be a little bit further over than that. A little bit too close for comfort, but I got away with it. So here's the drill that I used to drill the flat bottom. With just an ordinary drill and the tips being ground flat. Thanks to my brother for that, because he's much better at grinding drills than I am. For the length, I just put a bit of black tape on to mark 2.5 inches, and it actually came out at 2.55, so that's close enough. It's a pocket for a spring. I had to shorten the end of the drill so I could get it in the tailstock with that tailstock falling off the end of the lathe. And here are the two bars. The longer one is 14 inches, and that's just plain the ends have been turned off and a little chamfer on the end. And the shorter one, the front one, has got the whole 2.5 inch hole in there. The other end is faced off. And annoyingly, the Fix Steady put a couple of marks on the bar. I think the fingers were just a little bit too tight, particularly there, and you can just feel it with the fingernail, but not with the ball of your finger. It's not going to affect the operation, it just doesn't look particularly nice. Annoying, but I can live with it. I'm going to have to live with it because I'm not going to buy another bit of inch silver steel. Right, I'm going to tackle the first of the base castings. This one, I've put it in the vise. I've got the cast reasonably upright using a set square. That's about as upright as I can get it, certainly close enough. And now I'm just going to face off the feet. That's almost cleaned up, just another 10th thou or so. Actually, this height needs to be 1.5 inches from the centre of the bores, and it is roughly 1.5 inches there. Not critical as long as all 3 feet on the thing are the same height. That's that side cleaned up. Now let's get the feet nice even height. Alright, and to finish off I shall take a 5 thou finishing cut with the Z axis locked. That's the first machining operation done on that. The first of quite a few. But now I've got a nice reference surface all the future operations. Everything is indirectly going to be referenced off the base. Right, now to clean up the other base casting. This has only got a single small foot. So I'm going to take a slightly different approach here. So I'm going to clean this face up. Then I'm going to clean this face up, particularly this edge here, and make a careful note of the difference between here and here, because when I put it on an angle plate to bore these holes, I'll put a packing piece in here so I can get a decent clamp on it to keep it nice and true. Right, that's that foot cleaned up and the DRO is zeroed. Now it looks like that's the highest spot, so we'll tackle that one first. Right, that seems to have cleaned up nicely, so I'll just take the final pass at 0.72 of an inch with the Z-axis locked. I decided to drill the mounting bolts in the casting next. They might come in handy when I'm clamping the casting to the angle plates. So it's on 1, 2, 3 blocks, so I've got clearance under here and it's held down with strap clamps, bit of aluminium under there, just to make sure you get a good grip on the casting. Drilled a hole in the strap clamp there so I had enough space. I'm not going to measure these holes. There are dimensions on the drawings for the location of the holes. I'm not going to measure them. I'm just going to use a bit of 5/8 bar and line it up so it looks central on the casting boss. I think it's more important that it looks right than it's measured exactly to the drawings. I think that looks right. It looks central on the casting. So now that gets drilled out to 8mm and then swap face to 5/8. And don't you just love the mixture of imperial and metric measurements? That'll do. The hole at the other end is done in exactly the same way, so I won't bore you with that one. While it's in this setup, I might as well clean up the top of the casting here. The drawing actually says 3 3/4 inches height, but it's already slightly below, so I'm just going to clean up the casting. Again, not a critical dimension. Alright, and that will do for that. And that actually came out at 3.66 rather than 3.75, but that's only the column support, so that is not in the slightest bit critical. Here's the setup for the other base casting. It's a much simpler setup, and then I've again used the 5/8 rod to line the drill with the centre of the boss. Now I won't bother showing you the drilling of that because it's exactly the same as the last one. And there's that hole drilled and spot faced. Right, now the bottom's milled flat. The next task is to skim this surface and bore these 2 holes. This needs to be done on the mill. As you can see, my mill table is very narrow. It needs to go on an angle plate to keep it flat. And the only way I can do that is to clamp on the inside of the angle plate. Now my angle plates are not quite square on the inside. They're within about 5 or 10 thou. So I'm just going to skim off the inside surface of the angle plate. So hopefully I'll be able to clamp this square. My angle plate's also not quite long enough, so I'm going to have to use 2 angle plates. Oh, fun and games. Alright, so the first job is to just mill these flat. I'm only going to take the lightest skim off it, and it's going to be done in 2 shots, so I'll be playing musical clamps. And there we are, done. Okay, the first setup didn't actually work terribly well. When I took it off, I realised there was a ridge there. So plan B is to clamp it on all 4 corners. Then I can just remove and replace the clamps one at a time so I can get to the whole area. And there we have it, and that's much better. That's nice and smooth, no ridges. Of course, when I do use it, I shall clock it to make sure it is perfectly upright. And if it's slightly off, a shim or two will sort that out. I'm going to wrap up this video now. The next video will be continue working on the base castings. There's still quite a lot of work to do on those castings. Far too much for one video. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And if you have any comments, leave them below. I read them all and I answer nearly all of them. Thank you. See you soon.